Welcome back to our YouTube channel, The Book Digest. In today's episode, we're diving into a powerful and practical summary of The Lean Startup by Eric Ries. This is a book that totally changed the game for how people think about building businesses, so let's get right into it.
So, how did this one book have such a huge impact? Well, it all starts by tackling the single most painful, most common reason that so many startups, crash and burn. And this quote right here, it gets right to the heart of it. The author, Eric Ries, he lived this nightmare himself. He and his team poured years of their lives and a ton of money into building a product with incredible discipline, only to launch it and hear basically nothing. The failure wasn't because they were lazy or didn't work hard enough. It was because they failed to ask the most critical question early on. Hey, are we actually building something people want?
And this slide really nails the core reason why that happens. See, a startup isn't just a tiny version of a big company. A big, traditional company is basically executing a known, proven plan. They're all about efficiency. But a startup? A startup is in a totally different world. It's searching for a business model in the middle of extreme uncertainty. You just can't use the same map for both journeys.
Okay, so if the old playbook is out the window, what do you do instead? Well, Ries gives us this simple but incredibly powerful feedback loop that becomes the engine for any lean startup.
First things first, we need a whole new way to think about progress. For a startup, progress isn't about how many features you build or how many lines of code you write. The only thing that truly matters is something called validated learning. And what is that? It's about getting real, hard data from actual customers that proves, or more often, disproves, your big ideas about the business.
And here is that engine in action, the build, measure, learn loop. The whole goal is to race through this cycle as fast as humanly possible. You build a small experiment to test an idea. You measure how real customers respond to it. And then you learn from that data to make your next decision. Do we keep going or do we change course? It's all about steering with evidence, not just your gut.
Now, to make this loop actually work in the real world, you need two really important tools: a specific way to build and a totally different way to measure.
And that brings us to the famous, and let's be honest, widely misunderstood, minimum viable product, or MVP. Now let's be super clear about this. An MVP is not just a buggy, half-baked version of your final product. Its main purpose isn't to sell, it's to learn. It is the absolute smallest, simplest thing you can build to test your biggest, riskiest assumption.
And some of the most famous examples show you just how simple an MVP can be. I mean, think about Dropbox. Before they wrote a single line of their complex sync code, they just made a simple video that showed how it would work. The sign-up list exploded, proving people wanted it. Or Zappos. The founder just took pictures of shoes in local stores. If someone ordered online, he would literally go to the store, buy the shoes, and ship them himself. These weren't real businesses yet. They were cheap, fast experiments designed to answer one question: will people actually do this?
Okay, so you've built your MVP, you've put it out there. Now we're in the measure part of the loop. The big problem is traditional accounting, profit and loss, it just doesn't work for a startup. You need a completely new kind of dashboard.
And that's where this new framework comes in. It's all about knowing the difference between vanity metrics and actionable metrics. Vanity metrics, they look great on a chart. Things like total downloads or page views. They make you feel good, but they don't tell you anything useful about your business. Actionable metrics, on the other hand, are tied directly to real customer behavior. They tell you if you're actually creating value and building a sustainable business. So this brings us to the learn phase of the loop, and honestly the most agonizing decision any founder has to face. What do you actually do with all this data you've just collected?
This is the fundamental question, right? If your experiments are working, if the actionable metrics are trending up, you persevere, you double down on what's working. But what if they aren't? What if the data is flat, or even worse, it's telling you that your brilliant strategy is actually a dead end?
That's when you pivot. And a pivot is not failure. It's not just throwing everything away in a panic. As you can see here, it's a structured course correction based on what you've learned. It's about having the courage to say, you know what, our first big idea was wrong, and we're going to use what we learned to make a much smarter bet next time.
And this is just a crucial distinction to make. A pivot keeps the vision, that big picture goal you're aiming for, the same. You're still trying to solve that same important problem. You're just testing a new path to get there, armed with all the knowledge from your last attempt. None of that learning goes to waste. In fact, it's what makes your next move so much smarter.
Now, you might be thinking this all sounds great for a couple of people in a garage, but what about a huge, established company? Well, Ries argues these principles are just as vital, maybe even more so for them. I mean, think about it. A small team inside a massive corporation that's trying to launch a brand new product is facing the exact same kind of crippling uncertainty as a brand new startup. They've got a bunch of guesses or hypotheses about what customers want and how the business will work. And those guesses need to be tested, not just executed with a giant budget.
So for these internal teams to have any chance of success, they need what Ries calls an innovation sandbox, basically a protected space where they can run their own build, measure, learn loops without getting crushed by bureaucracy. And crucially, their success can't be measured by immediate revenue. It has to be measured by what they learn. Otherwise, what he calls the corporate immune system will just see this strange new thing as a threat and shut it down.
And really, this quote just perfectly sums up the entire philosophy of the book. The way to navigate uncertainty isn't to create a more detailed 500-page business plan. The solution is to build faster feedback loops, to create a system that's designed to learn more quickly and more efficiently than your competition. It's all about steering with real data, not just an old map. So that's our look at the lean startup, and it really leaves us with one powerful question we can apply to our own work. Whether that's a business, a project, or even just a new idea you have, forget the massive plan for a minute and just ask yourself this. What is the single riskiest assumption I'm making right now, and what is the absolute fastest, cheapest way I can test if it's true? Thanks for watching.